You are about to meet the 28-year-old from Belgium who has embarked on a hands-on dairy journey around the globe covering 3 continents. In August of 2022, Lawrence Rutten packed his bags and pulled on his boots to join a commercial grass-based dairy in New Zealand during the peak of calving season. Then he headed to the world's largest robotic dairy in Chile. And today we catch up with Lawrence on the 3rd leg of his travels, working at Sunnyside Farms in New York. And it's all right here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast Young Leaders series. This is for producers or professionals in the first 5 years of their dairy careers. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to connect you with others who are like you, driven to make a difference and determined to do it in the dairy industry. Whether you're on the farm or in the field, this is the place to plug in to hear how your peers are overcoming challenges and stepping up to lead the way as dairy's future innovators, decision makers, and movers and shakers. If you know someone in the first 5 years of their dairy career, send them a link to the show that's created just for them. And the young leader you are about to hear from got his start in dairy by tagging alongside his father, Carl Rutten, at dairy cattle shows and events. You may have even seen some of Lawrence's famed professional dairy cattle photography, a business he started at age 16 that led him to the colored shavings at World Dairy Expo, Swiss Expo, and other elite dairy cattle shows, capturing images of iconic cows like Apple and Barbara. And with this thirst for travel and drive for excellence, Lawrence went on to study international agribusiness at Wageningen University in the Netherlands, and also earned his master's in animal science, interned in the U.S. and Canada with companies like Techmix, Trow, Scothar Nutrition, and Lely. But as he prepared to start his career 2 years ago, Lawrence recognized he was missing a critical area of expertise. He had taken pictures of beautiful cows. He had studied nutrition and physiology and the inside of the cow, but he realized he lacked something that he knew would be invaluable for his future: working on large dairy operations in a hands-on role. So Lawrence shares the 2 critical questions he asked himself that spurred this journey, how it started, what he's learning along the way, and he leaves us with some solid takeaways on blazing your own trail, defining your future, and taking bold action. Enjoy this Uplevel Dairy Young Leader podcast with Lawrence Rutten.
So you have this background in research, business, being hands-on with cows, understanding different aspects of the industry. So when it came time to actually start your actual career, where did you start?
Yeah, so with all this education and all these experiences, you come to a moment, okay, now things are getting very serious. And that's great because that's what you've been preparing for all your time. But leading into that moment, I was exploring my options, and before doing that, I made 2 good exercises for myself, and one was that, is writing down what is important to you. So what is important to you as a person, but also in your career. And I guess that helped to set some direction. And on top of that, I also kind of projected myself, okay, who is the Lawrence going to be at 30? Who is the Lawrence going to be at 35? And try to shape an image of that. And as I was doing that and exploring my options, I guess I figured out, that was an inspiring moment, I think, or a moment where I thought, okay, I have a commercial technical degree, I have a network, I've been building on the network and all these global experiences, but I'm not from a dairy farm. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be in a career in the dairy industry and work with dairy producers going forward, then I better do the job that they have to do on a daily basis, or their workers. So that's, I guess, when the idea came to mind of working for a set period on dairy farms. And I love travel, so I love doing it. And I thought, why don't I combine it? And then the idea of doing a world trip where I'm working my way around the world on the best possible dairies that I could connect myself with got created. And then that idea came together. I was like, I think this is the right start. I gave that more thought, and I never looked back. And it's like, okay, this was probably this was 2 months before graduating that I created this plan, and I was so excited. I immediately called a few mentors of mine and people that could help me guide me in this decision, because I guess it was a little brave, right?
A lot brave.
You study so hard for a long time and you're absolutely ready to get a nice job and all the options are open. And then you decide to take a step back and then continue to invest in yourself and embark on this journey. So it was a moment of reflection saying, okay, is this a crazy idea or is this a great idea? And I think some really good mentors of mine helped me, guide me in that direction, saying or reaffirming that it was a great idea and you should pursue it.
Wow. Okay. I want to revisit something you originally said when you started sharing this story. And that was the 2 exercises that you walked yourself through. The first one where you sat down and you really put some deep thought and intention around identifying what was important to you. So what was important to you?
So I guess there was a professional and a personal aspect to that. And for example, a professional aspect is to work in international environments, be part of a group of global emerging dairy leaders, further my education, have a robust and growing network, be more proficient in languages, because that builds relationships. And then I guess be part of positive change. In my job, I would like to make a positive impact for dairy producers globally and really add value to the work or the company that I represent and the solutions that we bring to their farm, to their animals, and to their people. So yeah, that's, I guess, what sums it up professionally. But then personally, I think, for example, being consistently happy with high energy and positivity is a mindset that I've been trying to develop and I would like to keep. So that's something that I value, but also, for example, teaching others and trying to grow them. But then also continued personal learning and surrounding myself with the right people. I think those are some of the things that are important to me.
So you outlined these, I'm going to refer to them as values, or, ways that you identified what makes you excited, what, not just what's important, but what do you need to be the best version of you. But then the second step was when you were thinking about what that is, that best version, you were thinking 10, 15 years into the future. And so how did you see your future self at that time?
So a lot of the things that I just mentioned, I guess, also apply to that part. But I guess when you look at 30, you want to reflect at that, or I wanted to reflect at that point, saying, okay, I started off well. I have a growing network. I'm in a good position in where I'm at in the company that I will represent, and I'm making a difference for farmers, and I'm able to travel through that and keep expanding my horizons, and I guess use the education, use the experience, use the network that I've built to make a positive impact for our industry, for the environment, and for that.
So you took the time to really determine where you wanted to go, what your next steps were going to be. And that filtered into creating this ambition to get some on-farm, boots dirty, hands dirty experience in the dairy industry around the world. So now we're at the point where you can tell us more about what your journey around the world has been like. So when did it start and where did you go first?
I envisioned myself doing this for about 2 years. I gave myself 2 years to work my way around the world on dairies. And I guess I was graduating in August of 2022. And that's right at the moment of calving season in New Zealand. So I thought, okay, I think that's a good start. So I returned from Canada. I was 2 weeks home, and then I packed my bags and left to New Zealand. So that was the start of my journey. I worked in the southern island on a large commercial dairy with 1,400 cows. There were 2 farms, and I worked at the site where we had 800 cows. So in a team of 5, I was right into it. I was milking cows, I was taking care of calves, I was plate metering pastures, and basically doing everything to run the dairy with the 4 others that we were there with. So that was, I guess, an unreal start into the heart of dairy in New Zealand, because I was based in Medfin, which was in the Canterbury region, and in that region there are about 1 million cows. So it's wall-to-wall dairy, and yeah, it was new too, in a sense, because I was always used to the European farming systems or the North American dairies, and this was completely this was different, right? Because it's pasture based, so the only thing we would be mainly using was grass. So that was a different to what I knew. So I think that was very intriguing, and I just got right into it.
Wow. Okay, so when you got to New Zealand, no doubt you learned a lot. You learned a lot about a different style of dairying, and you probably learned a lot about yourself too and your own personal journey. But what are some of the biggest things that stand out in your mind about your experience working on a New Zealand dairy?
Well, the efficiency. I think that was very intriguing. Just the amount of cows that we managed per person. We were on our farm with just 5 people, and that included the 2 owners. But yeah, most of the milking and all the handwork came on to 3 people, and then some external persons that would come in at times to help us out. But yeah, just the amount of people the amount of cows they're able to manage by person, I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And so how long were you in New Zealand?
So I arrived in September and I left early February. So almost 5 months. Yeah.
All right. So what was the next leg of your journey after New Zealand?
So I always envisioned it going from New Zealand to South America to North America. And New Zealand was because it fitted right into my schedule, being just graduating right in calving season. So that worked out well. And then I always wanted to get experience in North America, in a very nice dairy there. Because I was always very intrigued by the U.S. dairy industry, to say specifically, and to get hands-on experience on a farm there. But to do that, you need to know Spanish, and because many of the dairies have a Hispanic workforce. And my Spanish, I knew a few words and I could get along, but it was not to the point where I was proficient at it at all. So I thought a good intermediate step would be to first go to South America to become also more proficient in Spanish.
Very smart strategy.
It was great. So I packed bags again in New Zealand early February, and then I left to Chile, where I joined Agricola Ancali, which is the largest robotic dairy in the world, milking about 5,000 cows with, at that time, 84 robots. And it just got me right into no one spoke English, no one. So yeah, it was only Spanish all day and all day out. And I think that was the best possible training that I could get on my Spanish. So
you learned Spanish fast out of necessity.
Well, yeah, you don't have a choice, right? No one spoke English, so you have to get around. And if you want to be a valuable employee, I guess you have to just learn it. So yeah, I was very thankful to be connected with Ancali and see what it really takes to manage such a large robotic dairy. I joined as the assistant dairy nutritionist on the farm. So the majority of my work was doing nutrition work for them. So that was my role. And then we developed specific projects around that. So a big one would be we were looking at a project improving the diet consistency of the farm, or looking basically at all the factors that can cause inconsistency in nutrition, and really trying to narrow down that.
So you went from being out in the green fields of New Zealand to now being in Chile, not just learning Spanish, but also really learning from, as you said, the largest robotic dairy. And what were some of the biggest things that you took away from your experience there?
So I guess the scale of it was one aspect is like, how do you manage a dairy with so many robots? And that was definitely one of the biggest takeaways. Otherwise, in my role, I never fed a herd that was 5,000 cows. So that was very interesting too, and a very big learning curve. So how do you do that? And then specifically, as I was so involved in a project around nutritional consistency, is how do you feed 5,000 cows to perfection? So I guess that took a lot of my time at the farm, and really doing thorough analysis of all the processes that can cause variation, and going over them, but then also following up and giving presentations to the management team in Spanish, because and then also training the whole feeding team on our observations and the training we put together for them. I think it was invaluable, because in one way too is like you come in and you don't speak the language. So that, I guess, was for me, one of the biggest takeaways too, is like learning my language and becoming more proficient in it, and then being able to use it to teach, to educate, to add value for their business.
And you had the opportunities to do that at a very high level.
I was very fortunate to be where I was, working directly with Odrion, the manager of the farm, most of my time, and the feeding team, but basically everyone, because I was all over the place.
So is there any standout moment from your time on that dairy where you were just really satisfied with the work that you were able to do and the expertise that you were able to bring to that dairy on the nutrition side as a result of all your other experiences put together?
It really came all together when we gave the training. So we put a lot of hard work into doing the analysis of where we saw variation being caused. And I thought that moment is putting the training together and going through all the evaluations and trying to make improvements. I thought that was, for me, one of the biggest accomplishments. And then, of course, seeing them being adapted. So that was, I guess, one of the highlights of my time there.
You really made an impact in your time there. And how long were you on that dairy?
Yeah, so that was a total of 5 months. Okay. So I was there from end of February till end of July.
All right. So you accomplished your mission to head to South America, learn Spanish, so that you were in position for your next move, your next leg of the journey in North America. And what was that?
Then we moved again. So that made living in 3 continents in 1 year, within a year. And I made it to the United States. So in middle of October, I arrived to New York State. And at the end of October, I joined Sunnyside Farms, just very close to Cornell University. And it's a very nice, large dairy here in New York. And I'm so happy to be part of their team. In my work at the moment, I'm part of the herd manager team, of the team of herd managers. Basically, my manager, Jared, he told me, Lawrence, you have to do everything that a herd manager has to do. So, and I thought that was so cool. So in the first week, for example, I learned how to breed cows, something I never did or never could have done, because considering the cost of it, right? What if you fail to breed the cow? So I thought that was very cool. So up till now, I've been mainly working in the hospital area, working with the fresh cows, and then working in their sort area. So looking at deviations. So what is wrong with a cow, to breeding cows, to vaccinating animals. And basically getting good experience in those areas. So the hospital pen, the fresh area, and the sort area. But from here, we were going to develop some special projects where I'm also able to, or where they're also able to lean into some of my expertise and where I can let my creativity go. But also in other areas of the farm that I will get exposed to. So.
Wow. So what are you most excited about in your experience that's ahead of you at Sunnyside in New York?
Just being part of such a great dairy here. It's a great team. It's a great farm. It's I'm just very much enjoying my role here and learning what it takes to manage a large dairy here in North America. And I look forward to the rotations within the farm, so going to new areas of the farm and then biting myself into the projects that we are going to develop together. So.
And you have excellent leadership to work with there. Jared Yauzi, manager there at Sunnyside. He's been a guest on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast and an incredible manager of people. And I'm sure he's also enjoying the opportunity to work with an ambitious person like you at Sunnyside.
I think also another thing, Peggy, that has been very, very cool about this journey is like, okay, in its own, what you're doing is fun, the job, really learning what it takes to manage cows in different systems. But on the other hand, it gives me the opportunity to travel and specifically network. This gives me the opportunity to do so in different regions around the world. So in the past 1.5 years, I've been able to meet so many new people. And I think that's a very, very valuable aspect of it as well, is make connections and also see how unified we are as an industry. Like everywhere where you go, it's so astonishing that we can, connect over dairy, over a topic that we are so passionate about. And it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you're from. When you talk to a dairyman and you're passionate about dairy cows, you will have a connection. That's been so fun in this journey too, is wherever you go, you're welcomed. And you can have a great discussion. They will serve you food on the table. They will even host you at times. And I think that's a fun part of being in this industry. And that's what I'm so grateful for, that we have such a welcoming industry that is willing to teach, that is willing to be open and also teach, I guess, or bring in a younger generation and give them opportunities. Because a large part of my journey is the success of it has been because of other people in our industry. And I cannot be so, I'm so thankful for what the persons that have connected me to all the farms have done for me. I mean, trying to bring across your message saying, hey, I have this plan. I would like to work on your dairy. This is my education. This is my drive. Would you be able to hire me for just a few months or 5-6 months? And in this specific case where I'm now at, it will be probably a year. So I'm so thankful that the persons I reached out to were embracive of my plan and then went onwards to look at the best possible dairy that they can connect me with. So I think that's been unreal, and that's why I think this industry is so great.
Well, the other side of what you just shared, Lawrence, is, you share the gratitude and the opportunities that have come your way, but they've come your way because you pursued them. And you've had the attitude to be grateful, to be bold, to push yourself, to put yourself out there, and to share with others your dreams and your vision. And it just brought forth the right people in your path to help you get there. So our industry is wonderful and exceptionally supportive, especially of those who seek the opportunities. And that's you.
Yeah, no, so great to be here, and I just can't wait ahead of the many more people that are out there we can meet, and we can collaboratively make this industry better.
And so how exactly were you able to make these connections to make this dream come true of going to 3 different continents? How did you do it? How did you find the dairies? How did you find the right people?
It's not something you build in a year, nor a few years. So it started off with my father, who has been a great networker on his own, and he has an incredible network that I got introduced to at an early stage. And then my photography initially took that to a higher level, building my own connections and adding them to our network. And then through my, academic journey, where I was able to get exposure to so many practical internships, I was able to travel first a lot, but also attend a lot of conferences, attend a lot of exhibitions, and meet a lot of people. So it's really something that has been built over years. Building the network is one thing, but building relationships with people is the other, that are willing to give you opportunities like this. And then when you call them and say, okay, I have this idea, what do you think? And then they're willing to help you. I think that comes also down to building good relationships with people, aside from networking.
You've had these experiences that have taken you around the world, 3 continents in less than 2 years. And this is all setting you up for your next step. Where do you see yourself going forward from here?
It's been an incredible journey, and I hope with my strong passion, my educational piece, and all these practical experiences, I hope what's next is going to be part of the industry and add value for the industry. So I hope to help dairy farmers globally with their business and make their farm, make their animals, and make their people excel, and giving them the tools, the knowledge they need to do so. So that's what I would love in the next part of my career phase to do. And yeah, I guess the different facets of experiences will definitely help me to pursue that path.
So do you think that looks like nutrition work, consulting work, a combination? How do you see yourself putting this into practice to deliver on that vision?
I'm passionate about lots of things, being it genetics, being it technology, being it nutrition. And I would be ready to tap into any of those and bite myself into it. So yeah, I guess at this stage, I haven't made the definite choice of where it's heading. We'll see what the future brings in that respect. Yet, adding value through any of these fields, yeah, whether that's genetics, nutrition, technology, or any other field, it's really about adding value for the dairy producer in whatever field you decide to go forward with, and whatever company that you think really does that.
And the opportunities are open and available for you to decide the way to deliver on that. So, Lawrence, when you take a moment to really think about this incredible journey that you have been on and your trip around the world in the dairy industry, what are some of the biggest lessons, some of the biggest takeaways that you can share with others who are in those first 5 years of their own dairy careers?
The first one would be to build a solid foundation. So build a solid foundation for passion, build a solid foundation in your in academia, so in your degrees. I think those are set the base for just good education, which I think is important. Then go beyond geographic boundaries, I think is something that you definitely should be considerative of, in a way that you should challenge your comfort zone, take risk, and go out there. Yeah, that's when you grow. I would definitely give that advice as well. Definitely try to build your network, and try to do it as early as you can. Specifically, try to form relationships with people, and try to grow it, because it's perhaps in your early stages of going to university and through that you think, why should I do this? But down the road, I mean, we are a business of people. Everything evolves around people, and having a network you can use and utilize, and you can make use of, is just phenomenal. So it's a lot of fun, and that's definitely another one.
So Lawrence, I know you had a few other points of advice to share with others. What else is on your list?
Yeah, I think also be adaptable is definitely important. So I just shared my story with you, and it's been evolving, right? It changed over time, the course of it, and one thing fell into the other. So I think being adaptable, being open-minded to new things that come on your path is definitely important. We are also a dynamic industry, so things change fast, and that I think you also have to be adaptable to that. So be adaptable to your to your path and be adaptable in the industry.
You talk about adaptability, but yet are there some things that you remain really consistent with? Going back to what you identified a couple of years ago as your most important things, your vision for where you saw yourself in the future. Those things, do they change for you, or is that what you hold true to yourself?
I guess I'm just so passionate about the dairy industry, about cows, and I value a lot continued education. So seeking opportunities to do so is definitely high on my list, but doing so, honest and open communication and being respectful to others, I think are some of the core values that I try to stick to.
And that's what's opened up these doors. What else would you like to share?
So another thing that is important, I think, is to really cultivate the support system with friends, family, your peers, mentors, and those are the persons that are going to be there for you in the ups and downs and to guide you on the way when in times that are great, but also in times that are challenging. So that has helped me a lot in my journey, and definitely something that I have been very thankful for is the mentors that I have had on the way and that I continue to have in my life. So.
Anything else?
Well, anything is possible. So whenever you put your mind to it, you will achieve it. I think for me, no is usually not an option. It's always trying to see if you can achieve it and challenge yourself in that, and just go beyond for it to achieve something. So
you talked about no isn't an option for you, and yet you did not choose the easy path here. There was no cookie cutter. There was no existing program for the adventure that you have embarked on around the world in the last couple of years. This is not the easy path. What are the biggest challenges that you faced along the way?
I think in the beginning part, it was definitely about, am I doing the right thing? I mean, all the options were open after graduating, and then I decided to work hands-on on a farm. And not every day you will learn or you have an exciting day, right? But I think so that was sometimes the challenge for me, is to think, okay, am I doing the right thing? Because something else that I could have pursued would have been perhaps the better choice. But going through time, I think I'm definitely on the right track. I'm seeing the bigger picture and how this will add value to my career. And but that's been sometimes definitely a challenge, like, shouldn't I do something else or get a longer term job? But no, it's been rewarding and it's been fun, and I'm definitely happy that I've had the patience to stick this through and stick to my plan and go for it.
Has there ever been a moment where you thought maybe the plan won't work? Ever a moment where you thought you might quit? So
when you are trying to, you're basically trying to move yourself around the world, and then you try to make sure that your schedule goes from one smoothly into the other opportunity. But that's not always happening. So you have to be very adaptable in that sense. And so being patient, I think, is another thing. And being flexible in that sense has definitely been challenging too at times, is making ends meet and making it all work together. And then just when you're trying to shape a position with a farm in anything, basically you have to be patient, and you will be rewarded for it. But sometimes it can be definitely challenging when you are waiting and waiting and waiting.
So even in those toughest moments and the moments of the most uncertainty, you didn't go back to Belgium.
No, I didn't. No, we stick this through, and that's, I think, the beauty of the world we live in today. It's so online, so we can communicate in every possible way at every time of the day. And that allowed me to reach out to my support system, which has been invaluable to me. My friends, my family, my peers, my mentors, they always at times when I was difficult and I needed someone to talk to, they were there for me and saying, reaffirming that I was doing the right thing and or getting me through difficult moments. So yeah, I definitely attribute that to that.
So incredible lessons, an incredible journey that you've been on. And as we wrap up here, Lawrence, gosh, with all of these experiences and perspectives that you have, if you could pick one place to live and work in the dairy industry, anywhere in the world, what would it be?
I find it hard to settle, Peggy, to be honest. Oh, every place has been beautiful, Peggy. I mean, New Zealand, what a country. South America, it's what a beautiful region. North America, it's there's so much beauty to it too. Europe, it doesn't matter really. I think what is important is that you feel good where you are, you're enjoying what you're doing, and then everything will work out. The world is a beautiful place, and it is filled with beautiful people in our industry wherever you go. So do what feels right.
For folks out there listening to you in the first 5 years of their dairy careers, they, I'm sure, are equally as intrigued as I to continue to follow you on your journey. Is there anywhere that they can find you or follow you?
Yeah, for sure. So they can add me on Facebook, Instagram, on both platforms. I'm active, also LinkedIn. They can reach out to me. Any way I can help or be helpful to any other person. Just shoot a text or shoot a message or an email, and I'll be happy to help you.
What a kind offer. And we can include some of those links in the show notes here so that you get to be in the position to potentially be a mentor to someone else as they set their own big dreams, big goals, and ambitions to not just start their career in the dairy industry, but go all in on dairy as their career. All right. Any final thoughts?
I'm so thankful to be on this podcast today and share my story with all of you. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want to wish you a great 2024 and be bold, be courageous.
And thank you for being the example of that. Thank you so much for joining us, Lawrence. Equally a privilege to have you as a guest here on the Uplevel Dairy Young Leaders podcast.
What a journey this young dairy leader is on. And it all started with asking himself two critical questions. Two questions that defined his next steps. And if you're a young producer or professional, you know what? Do the same thing right now. Grab a notepad, pull up your phone, and write down these two questions and your responses. Question number 1, what is important to you? This one is all about defining your priorities and writing them down. And question number 2, who are you 5 years from now and 10 years from now? This one is about projecting your future self, not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it, who you are, how you've developed, how you've grown, how you've pushed yourself. And so those two questions determined Lauren's direction. And if you reflect on these and you make decisions about your next right steps, just keep those priorities and that vision of where you want to be and who you want to be in your own mind. And perhaps, who knows, it could take you around the world. Thank you for listening to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast and this special series for young leaders, for producers and professionals of the first 5 years of their dairy careers. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen, and as always, proud to be I'm starting that over. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thank you for listening to this Uplevel Dairy Podcast and this special series on young leaders, for producers and professionals in the first 5 years of their dairy careers.